Welcome back to the SPL. Finch here along with Taco as we move into the next set here of the day. SK going to be going up against Mousesports here, Taco.
And it's going to be an interesting shakeup between both of these teams. I think that they've arguably been performing at some of their peak smite that we've yet to see from them in Season 5. Mouse, largely because of the fact that they have Spudio now fulfilling that hunter role swap position. It's subbing, or not, I shouldn't say subbing, but he's the main roster guy now. We saw a great Week 1 debut from Spudio, and I'm really interested to see whether or not he's going to be able to maintain that heading into his technically secondary week of SPL performances.
You've heard it, Mouse, not just looking better, but getting a little bit more respect now here, Taco, from some of the other teams. They're recognizing this is actually a threat, this Mousesports team, when they show up before. Not that, these players weren't getting respect before, but certainly that they're being looked at as other legit contenders on the other side from them. They're going to go up against this SK roster that has been struggling a little bit to sort of get everything going.
I think SK's, with a lot of the teams that have been struggling, at least in Europe, it's been more of a consistency issue than anything else. Like, for example, Obey, they finally take their set off of Energy, which gives people hope that maybe they're still there for that top 3 positions. And I think that SK have also kind of encountered the same sort of problems with their inconsistencies. It's like, one moment, Faeles is completely on point, never going to miss a single ability, always going to make the appropriate ganks when needed, and then other times, it's just Faeles, what's happening, bro?
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, but the level in mechanical skill difference between Rival or Dignitas and SK Mouse, it's not that great. These teams are all insanely good players. It's consistency. How often, like you said, can you go out there and do it? How well can you play as a team? How good are your picks and bans? I feel like more than anything for SK, that's where they're lacking. Are they consistently the best in picks and bans? Do they consistently have the best strategies going into the game?
I'm actually really excited, though, because I want to look at this Hunter matchup specifically. I think Funballer has stayed true to himself. He's been an incredibly aggressive player the whole time, and Spudio, from the little bit that we have seen of him, he seems to kind of demonstrate some of those similar aggressive motives that we see happening time and time again from Funballer. So I just want these two to completely go at it in this set.
Yeah, Spudio did not come into the split looking scared or nervous at all, did he? He didn't come in with a whimper. He came right out of the gate ready to rock. And that was kind of what we heard a little bit from Jermaine, right? That maybe he didn't feel like he was 100% still in it the way that the rest of his team was. Well, that shows how big of a difference it makes when Spudio comes in 100% still hungry and ready to go.
I think that can also be attributed to the fact that Spudio is a member who's been around the scene for so long. He's familiar with the European pros. It's not like he's coming in completely fresh from the rank community or something. He did at least get to dip his feet into the waters with the Smite Minor League, and I think that was the perfect bridge gap area for him, now being brought up into the SPL, and he seems to be right at home.
He definitely seems to be comfortable, and this Mousesports roster definitely starting to look like a real contender here with some of these other teams, and SK going to have their work cut out for them as we move into the picks and bans now for Game 1 and see how they respond.
And this one will be interesting because both of these teams, I think, have a strong tendency to kind of just pick based on a whim. It feels at times. I know that it's all compositions and things like that they've been running in scrims, but you never really know what to expect, especially from Mouse. We've seen a lot of jankiness with Habois also from SK, so I think that there are a couple of picks that could definitely be questionably chosen, but I think that they'll still be appropriate.
Well, it's not just so much that their picks are unique, because they are, but also where they go. It's hard to tell exactly where they're going to be putting stuff on these squads some of the time, so it's always fun to watch Mouse and SK when they're drafting against each other, because they're not afraid to swing for the fences and try something that maybe not everyone else is looking at and play to their own strengths, and that's certainly what we're going to see here in this first game as Cerberus gets valued. This is a big point in the last set that we just watched, the energy set, the Cerberus pick, and here it is by Mouse being prioritized again.
Cerberus was super popular all throughout the spring split, and I think that we're starting to see that resurface here again in the summer. I know that it's pretty early on in the week, so it might still be a little early to tell, but I just think that if Athena isn't available, Cerberus is probably one of your next best bets. And speaking of Habois, SK going to make sure to snag that one right up.
So this Habois has suddenly become a pretty priority pick here in these last couple of weeks, I would say, or so. It's been played in the jungle a lot more now. We've been seeing it all over the place. It's just so much damage. And when you're able to reliably have more magic damage on your team too, it really can kind of make the build path a little bit more difficult for your opponents.
The heavy burst is nice to have. I think that there's appropriate setup also with the Sobek because you have plucks into the water cannons or even a water spout. Just keep that knockup chain going for all you really care about. But Mouse also with a very nice distribution of damage. Sylvanus, Ram, that's going to be a very potent dual lane to try and deal with, which is why it's interesting to see SK Funballer going for the Anhur.
Well, Funballer's been around forever, so has Anhur. So these two are certainly old friends. In fact, a Sobek Anhur lane, pretty old dual lane right there for the Egyptian god. So they're certainly going to be ready to throw down, even against some of the pressure that a Sylvanus Ram can have in lane, and try and match that clear.
The big thing here is that we've seen Mouse kind of just leaving the dual lane by itself. Dardez tends to rotate around the map more often, and I think that because of that...
Especially now with Spudio, right? Yes.
Yes, and that's why Dardez knows that he can trust Spudio to hold his own. Spudio has proven he knows how to hold his own, but this is a very hyper-aggressive lane for Funballer, because if he wants to try and heavy commit for that early pick against Spudio, Anhur's the right guy to do it on, and the early game's the period where you have to try and become a lane bully.
It really seems like it's aggression from top to bottom for me. I mean, Sobek is best when you play him very far forward with the threat of the pluck. Hebo certainly going to be being aggressive, and Thoth now comes in for SK as well for that huge long-range damage. In fact, just last set, we saw how great he is in Phoenix defenses. No way to get away from that damage. Gonna cause some problems potentially for Mouse.
Sometimes all you got to do is hang in there. If all else fails, just rely on that Phoenix defense out of the Thoth, and I can't fault SK for wanting to offer this either. Lawbster, probably one of the most mechanically sound players that we have in the mid lane role, and I think that the Thoth could go a long ways for him.
Sure.
I'm really just concerned about the Habois and whether or not they're going to be able to transition his late game potential into the early and mid stages, because that's probably the period where it's most likely that we're going to see invades and ganks happening to try and keep this Habois suppressed.
Well, is this too much magic damage, though, from SK? I mean, is that a fear they have to have? They have the Sobek, Habois, Thoth, and Artio, very much reliant on Anhur, who's not the best hunter once you start getting towards the late game.
Normally, I would say it might be too magical heavy, but because it's a Thoth and a Habois, I can give them the benefit of the doubt to still work around it. Both of those mages alone just deal so much insane amounts of damage. I don't think it matters if Mouse even decides to build Bulwarks, Heart Wards, and everything else you could picture.
Still going to be able to get plenty of damage out of those picks. Well, now that you've seen both of these drafts, Taco, are you leaning a little bit more towards SK here or maybe towards Mouse?
I'm going to give this one to Mouse.
Okay, all right. We're leaning a little bit towards Mouse here. Why? You got what's the
I just like their front line a little bit more. Right now, all SK really have to fall back on is that Sobek for their peel potential. Artio is kind of just there to harass and just stand in the way, absorb things, but she doesn't necessarily deal a whole lot of heavy peel, and I know that there's bound to be people that disagree with me on that one, but trust me, I think Mouse has maybe got this one.
Well, let's see if that is how it ends up working actually in practice. Game number 1 is ready to get underway.
Thanks a lot, friends. Tom and Jolie here, bouncing, ready to give you the action. Very excited for this one. Mouse versus SK, the battle of the bottom. But really what it comes down to is that Mouse are a team that have seemed to struggle, but have found their footing.
It's just a change of the roster, honestly. A little bit of breath of fresh air, Spudio coming in for Jermaine, and then all of a sudden, things start clicking for Mouse as they took out Obey Alliance in week number 3.
Yeah. Been really exciting. Spudio looked strong in his last couple of outings. Is it enough for Mouse to beat SK? Let us know in the Mixer chat if you think that's the case. Right now, I think Mouse are coming in as a team that is in 5th place that won't stay there.
If history repeats itself, it should be Mouse having a slight edge, considering it was still that 2-1 victory compared to week number 1 performance.
Let's get right into the action. Game number 1 coming at you live. Faeles in the jungle on the Hebo. I've been very critical of Faeles here for SK Gaming. I say a lot of SK's success, or lack thereof, is on the back of Faeles. Giving him a character like Hebo is giving him the Excalibur. He has the tools to hard carry this game. Can he is a different story.
Now, Funballer playing this Anhur with HalfDevil playing the Sobek. I'm surprised they don't go for the Pluck Impale combination under that tier 1 tower. It's something that Funballer started to do in the later stages of Season 4 when teams were proxying between tier 1 and tier 2, or they were like, go straight up to your tier 1 tower line. He would play the Anhur, he impaled, he found a first blood at level 1. But this time around, not going back to that old strategy.
Yeah, he found the Impale, but HalfDevil wanting to help a little bit with the wave clear, I suppose, not getting the charge prey. And I mean, I guess that's Dardez playing the Sylvanus, which we've spoken about Spudio. Dardez misses the first pull of the game, which I don't think is representative of him at large. And what I was saying is that Dardez is just a huge part of this team.
Not able to get level 2 quite yet with the purple buff stripped going into Mousesports' favor. Dardez and Spudio respecting the Sobek, but not respecting it as much as they should, knowing that the Sobek's not going to get level 2 to get his pluck. Still playing very aggressive, still looking for the pulls. Surprised he just doesn't go straight up for HalfDevil, considering he was a lot closer.
Well, the idea, I think, is to get Funball to burn his beads. Funball doesn't have jump yet either, so being able to pull the Hunter that just has Impale at level 1, really, really important, because that Anhur is almost as good as dead if you pull him without that jump. Now level 2 likely does have the jump available, so because of that, won't be able to be so easy for Dardez. So I think we see this. I think we see Mousesports back off a little bit because of it.
They wanted to min-max their farm by grabbing their own purple buff with Sobek hitting level 2. He didn't get a second ability quite yet, but you know he's going to get that pluck if Mouse are going to continue to be that aggressive. And that's why Dardez and Spudio were like, all right, we'll give HalfDevil the respect that he could potentially pluck us under the tower. We're going to get our purple buff and just continue to outclear them. Currently level 3 compared to SK's level 2. And that purple buff from the Chaos Squad is coming up soon.
There it is. The pull's good, but this time Funball has the jump. Still able to find a root on top of the Hunter. And a nice Impale keeps Spudio at a distance. Otherwise, we might be calling first blood here, but Funball too quick on the reaction, gets the knockback. And look at this, as soon as it spawns, Mouse are going to be over at the purple buff. HalfDevil is here local, using Tail Whip and the basic, trying to confirm that purple, and will. So SK come up empty-handed. Dardez narrowly avoids getting plucked by HalfDevil. More of a miss than a dodge, to be honest with you. And so SK Gaming up short.
Dardez just kind of turning around and looking at HalfDevil like, what? He stands still for a second. He's like, just dodging a car casually.
I love that.
And on the right side of the map, we haven't really seen too much action between these two junglers as they're casually trying to fight over these mid-Harpy objectives. Fail piloting the Hob 1. Not level 5 quite yet. Not too much mana either to start spamming away.
I love this Medusa mid pick also, by the way. We saw it yesterday come out. The middle lane Medusa just so strong. A lot of abilities that allow her to function like a mage, and then in the late game, a Viper shot now extending to a 4th shot. Very, very cool idea. Love that change. And that allows her to be a little bit more late game prominent, but she will still continue to dominate that mid game.
Now the thing is, hunters generally excel at trading out in the boxing skirmishes versus mages, so this is why you're seeing a little bit of a back off from SK Gaming. They don't want to fight Mousesports, whether it's the dual lane or that hunter position.
There's the Fat Loki. Ultimate still in charge. Cherryo going for it. Knocked up from behind. Gets the kill on the Lawbster. And Cherryo going to walk right through the tower, surviving for now. Slowed down by Faeles. Faeles low on mana. Does have enough for a water cannon. But that's it. Not enough for the knock-up. The slow coming out from Ducky. Here comes help from Nika all the way from the solo side. Nika goes to Faeles. That's the wrong choice. Oh, Cherryo falls down, but he does get first blood.
Very important, the first blood trade. Nika slightly dropping the ball. He prioritized Faeles as the bigger threat instead of Ducky. He thought that Cherryo was out for good, but not when Ducky still had the bear charge to chase.
And you just got to be able to look at both bars there. You have to be able to see that Faeles has no mana. You look at a Hebo with no mana and go, you are not a threat to me whatsoever. He had enough maybe for the water cannon like I called, but water spout going to be more expensive, so not available.
I definitely agree with you. The bigger threat was going to be the bear. Sometimes you got to use your own model to scare away the more damaging character, but in that case, there was only a split-second decision that Nika had, unless he was looking at the chase and could evaluate the mana pool. So the first instinct was him to defend against the higher damage burst character, but really didn't see the mana bar in time to react properly.
I mean, sure, if we want to If we really dissect that scenario, I suppose that's more on Cherryo than Nika at all. Because Cherryo should be communicating, I'm being chased by Hebo, but he is out of mana, right? That's the communication that needs to be had. So that Nika knows that he's less of a threat than he intends to be.
And the thing was, even though despite getting the first blood bounty for Cherryo, trading 1 for 1, if Mousesports don't get anything off of the death from Lawbster, it's still a favorable trade for SK Gaming as long as they don't lose anything on their side of the objectives.
Pull from Dardez a little bit short, so Lawbster won't go into the clutches of the tree. Funball backing to base with a level lead over Spudio, about half, as we see Spudio just now hitting level 6. And a difference of opinion here. Funball going for the attack speed boots first and foremost, where Spudio, on the other hand, prioritized out the healing gloves.
And this is a good timing window, considering that once you hit the pick-me-up maxed out ability, or the steroid ability attack speed, hold on thought, because Dardez in no man's land.
Knocked up, knocked down. Lawbster gets the last hit off of Faeles' fantastic ultimate. Great job there from the SK Gaming squad. Just caught Mousesports a little bit too eager. And was able to punish them nice and easily. Faeles still low on mana. He'll still be able to transition over here by these mid-harpies.
Oh, in the duo lane, Spudio going to get impaled out. Does have a 1-level disadvantage, but Anhurs are still great at boxing despite that disadvantage.
That's the key, and I want you to talk about this a little bit. Spudio, new to the SPL, Anhur is one of the more devastating picks to play against when somebody is better than you. I'm not saying necessarily that Funball is better than Spudio, although I think a lot of people would agree to that, but he's certainly more tenured. And when you're coming into a lane, fighting against an Anhur like this, that's as aggressive as Kieran, as Funball is, I mean, this is a tall task. And although Funball likes the Anhur no matter what, I can't help but think that the choice against the rookie is part of that decision.
It's mostly about the God matchup. Anhur definitely excels against late game hunters at level 6, at level 7, when his impale ability is just going to outweigh the basic attack damage from this level 8 Rama, and that's the one advantage that Funballer has in the back of his mind. He's going to use that to its fullest every single time. Not only the God matchup, but the item difference. You have more mobility with the Ninja tab, whereas Spudio, he's willing to take that initial blow so he can heal it back up later.
Dardez here on the Sylvanus. That's been a focal point for Mousesports. I really enjoyed watching this guy play, even when he was on poorer teams, on lower-end teams, totally. I sat here kind of singing his praises. And I'm very excited for the future of Dardez because players like Cherryo and BigManTingz surrounding him certainly give him a position to be great. Big damage onto Lawbster, and Dardez's dots will take care of the mid lane mage.
But BigManTingz needs to keep himself as far away from Faeles as possible. Perfect route from Dardez after setting up for the perfect gank. Surprised was Lawbster getting pulled through the wall. Beads was just not even possible unless you can see him through the wall with a ward, but that just was not present out of SK Gaming.
Right on time. Dardez just the opposite of Caster's Curse. I'm talking good about him, and he puts his show on, right? That's what I want to see players do. And totally, I mean, Dardez has just been such a big deal. Here it's the other support making noise, though. Cherryo getting in trouble, knows he's likely to fall, so puts all of his damage into Faeles and actually outlives HalfDevil's ultimate, blinks away. Cherryo, the jungler for Mouse, doing what he can.
He tried to get the damage off a little bit too early. Could have held on to that lurking in the water to guarantee the kill, but I think he wanted to make sure that Cherryo wasn't going to blink out of combat and trying to get off the damage to allow Faeles to clean up before any sort of return fire damage. But this level 9 Cabrakan with Voidstone, Pen Boots is going to be an absolute nightmare.
I love Cherryo on Cabrakan. He's just the human Cabrakan. He understands his character so well. He gets what it's doing. And what I love about Cabrakan specifically is that Cherryo is the guardian jungler, right? He's the one that takes these tanky characters and brings them into the jungle. But he's going to get knocked up here and quickly turn. Not really. Still going aggressive. My point is that he knows how to be a controlling carry. And that's what he does here on the Cabrakan. His job is to carry, but not with just pure damage. His job is to also provide some control. Interesting side note I want to bring up, Toli. 0 points in tremors.
There's no reason for him. He does not want to be a sitting duck for Faeles to do the damage. Cherryo in a 1v1 against Faeles, juking out the final judgment, juking out the water cannon, walks away cleanly with the speed buff.
I love your point there, that Cherryo is not interested in the tremors because he's just not looking for that sort of control right now. If he goes into the tremors, he's just a sitting duck for Faeles. Is that the actual verbiage you used? Sitting duck?
Yeah. Okay. He's a sitting Cabrakan. Duck, Cabrakan, close enough.
Yeah. I mean, either way, you're just all fouled up.
Yes. That was a good one, Tom. I would pat you on the back if I could reach you from here. But the thing of the matter is, Tremors just isn't high enough DPS for what you're trying to do in the jungle role. Keep in mind that a lot of traditional junglers are the assassin type. They get in and out of the action. Cabrakan, playing the jungle role, doesn't want to sit behind for any sort of return fire during the Tremors. By not getting the Tremors, he gets an extra point in his first or second ability, whatever he wants to max out. And that's a huge amount of burst in the jungle role.
Cherryo going to blink over and look for Faeles after the fact. Won't be able to either. Cherryo now dealing with Ducky. And a side note that we rarely talk about with Cabrakan is the passive as well. I think he makes it a great choice for playing against Hebo specifically. The ability to just sort of rack up that damage reduction, that's a big deal.
It's very true. Nice plug from HalfDevil. He's been on the mark with some of these plugs, but Dardez is getting peeled by his mid-mage Hunter.
Meanwhile, Faeles goes into the tower and trades out with BMT. Cherryo catches HalfDevil, and he'll fall down to the wayside. It's a 1-for-2 favor of Mousesports.
Trying to make it happen there against Faeles, but he just undervalued how far he would actually travel into the tower. Spudio feeling confident to cancel the back from Funballer. Misses numbers 2 and 3, but trading out this 90-second cooldown, you delay the back from Funballer for at least 5 more seconds. And with this Anhur being at about 50% health without a good amount of lifesteal percentage, this is a favorable thing for Spudio.
Yeah, I mean, look at one basic able to do a ton of damage to Funballer. I don't like seeing Devo gloves built second, especially when your opposition builds it first. I mean, right now, Funball's just at such a disadvantage.
Normally, you would try to get something else. You would go for the Aussie later, and then maybe go for like a bigger power spike play. Go for Ikavile into Aussie, trying to win some of these boxing skirmishes, which is something that Anhur really excels at with the passive, shredding protections by 20, getting your Impale more damage, getting your Desert Fury that extra damage that they need. But without the rotations from Funballer, there hasn't really been too much follow-up from HalfDevil's plucks. They got that 1 kill initially onto Dardez with a nice pluck, but ever since then, it just hasn't been successful for the plucks.
Yeah, it's been kind of rough. Dardez has also been off with the pulls, but I think the charge prey is so much more important to Sobek than the Sylvanus pulls. It's very interesting to note that Sylvanus does what he does largely without considering the pull as a normal part of his kit. When people land pulls, generally it's a bonus.
It's an extra, yes.
You're usually getting Sylvanus for ult and heal and root, right? Dardez, when he plays Sylvanus, it is a reliable part of the character. It's kind of scary how much different Sylvanus is on Mouse than he is on other teams.
And all he has to do, realistically, is wait for other setup. Cherryo has 2 stuns in his kit. Nika can easily slow multiple members. He can even pull them for you to set up a second additional pull. If BigManTingz gets the better end of the Petrify for the Medusa stones, then the pulls are guaranteed under potential tower sieges. Whether you use it offensively or defensively, Dardez can do the best of both worlds. And once he hits level 12, it's going to be even better once he gets the blink.
Right now, a ton of vision for SK Gaming on the left side of the map. Their rewards just now dissipating. Ducky looking for the invade, chased out by Cabrakan, but no kill there. So Cherryo going to watch as his jungler gets stripped, and that'll be a bad look. But Cherryo backs to base before his speed buff spawns, so that should be a great look for the jungler.
Teams kind of slowing it down with how much action there was in the beginning of this game, sitting at 5-3 in 15 minutes. Mouse with a decent advantage. Neither team wanted to go for the Gold Fury, but keep in mind it was Mouse that actually snuck that Pyromancer not too long ago. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do start grouping up for this Gold Fury with Rom sitting at level 14. This is a good power spike play to go for the Gold Fury. Plenty of attack speed with the Ikavile finish and the maxed out pick-me-up.
Yeah, just shy about 2,000 gold here. is SK Gaming from the lead. If Mouse go ahead and take this Gold Fury, Totally, that'll be the beginning of a really harsh lead for SK to deal with.
It could be now, considering Funballer back. Spudio will clear this wave. He has nothing really else to do except maybe grab his purple buff, and that's going to be the trigger.
Yeah, do it. SK Gaming, though, are seeping in from the middle lane. Faeles is here in local, does have all of his abilities, but it do not matter. Mouse come through. They're able to secure the Gold Fury before SK even show up. Another missed pluck, and the Sobek sent all the way to the back line, but Nika takes him down. Faeles with the ultimate, gonna hit Dardez, but that's the support. Double kill for Nika as he takes down Faeles and sends him to the Shadow Realm. Ducky trying to do what he can off the top end, does what he can, but what he can is not much. Ducky will fall down to the hands of Mouse as well. Cherryo gets another kill.
They're not done yet. Snipes coming through. 2 and 3 hit, but the first one missed. Funballer walks away for the moment. Nika chasing him down. He doesn't have the blink available. Could catch out Lawbster for some additional damage. It could buy some time for Spudio to maybe get a tier 1 tower on the left side, or at least guarantee the purple.
What are they doing? Mouse aren't doing anything off of this. Now, I know they got all the objectives, but I would like to see them go to the lanes.
It's a 2-on-3. Or 2-for-3 after the winning of that trade, and they just didn't have the health pools to do much of anything. Thoth was still up. He has Hieroglyphic Assault. You're not getting the tier 1 mid tower, but you are getting this tower on the left side. If Spudio wanted to commit to it, but without his ultimate, he has to respect any sort of potential counter gank.
Just has to get on out of there. Like I said, I would have loved to see these players wind up in or in the lanes. Observer right there noting that Spudio very low mana, can't really fight there. That's a big point.
All in due time, says Mousesports. They'll get those 500 gold in their pocket in due time. There's no rush for it. With this kind of about a 4,000 gold lead, 17 minutes in, it's something to build off of.
Yes, absolutely.
So once they start grouping up, they can use their level advantages primarily in the dual lanes. 2-level lead for Spudio and 2-level lead for Dardez.
Nika here back into the solo lane. Very interesting to see. Usually once these solo laners leave the lane, it's over. But it's like they return to the laning phase almost here, Tully.
And you're not going to be doing much damage to each other. There's plenty of sustain for both if they really want to get that off. So you're better off using your time more effectively by making these rotations, helping out the team fights.
Faeles walks right into the forest, and Dardez certainly makes a sound. Half Devil, half HP. Trying to run on away, and certainly will, lurking in the waters. Mousesports trying to make those waters murky, though. Filling it with their opposition's blood. Left side, they're going to fill it with rocks as well. What's a tower made of? Is it rocks?
It's a whole lot of something in the battleground of the gods. Not going to make that prediction, but what I can predict is Mousesports going to use their 5-on-4 advantage while Faeles is dead for another 12 seconds, getting a lot of damage on this tier 2 tower. Spudio actually shifting his attention because Nika jumps over the wall.
Gets the stun on the Funball and will pick up Funball, HalfDevil, and they both walk into the arrows of Spudio. Funball has to retreat, so does Ducky, but he doesn't get the luxury. BigManTingz sends Ducky back to the pond. Half HP, even beneath that is the tier 2 tower. And that one falls down easy peasy. Mousesports off to a tear. 6,000 gold in the lead. And Toli, I know, I realize, I understand that they're playing against a 6th seeded SK Gaming. But this is one of those games where this success is translatable to any team that they're playing against. They're not sitting here taking advantage of SK Gaming mistakes. They're just playing good Smite. And I think that's a wonderful look if you're a fan of any of these players, because I think a lot of people are sitting there going, it's about damn time.
There's 3 things from Mousesports they did this game that showed me they're confident heading into this first match for week 4 for them. It was the Cherryo dive around level 5 or 6 onto Lawbster for the first blood. That was the first sign. Second sign was them doing a Pyromancer where there was nothing else to do against a Thoth that can easily steal it. And the third one was doing the Gold Fury when yet again they have these timing windows in their head. It's like, all right, on her back, Funballer's nowhere to be seen. We can easily zone Faeles away. He has no blink. He can't get in the thick of things. And as long as Lawbster is in no man's land, then what potential steal does SK Gaming have? And Mousesports have made these necessary improvements to find the little things and start just like pulling the water out of the cactus.
Yeah, just finding it. Mousesports right now, 6,000 gold above SK Gaming.
About to be 7,000 after this tier 1 tower. Good stun onto Ducky and going to actually shift away from this tier 1 tower. 2 Guardians smacking a tower. It's going to take a long time, especially without minions eliminating the backdoor protection.
That is one of the things that you lose with Cherryo going into his oddball god selection. God pool is the word I'm looking for. Is that you do lose a ton of tower damage. You don't get much structure damage. Usually when you have a traditional assassin, you're able to just hit Flaming Spear on Najah, for example, and just chew through things. I don't have to tell you about Mercury. All of those assassins can do work. Well, they got 100 mid. No problems there. I love the draft composition because it speaks to what Mouse does well. It's not, and I'm going to bring Obey up. Obey picked Neath mid because that's what was working, flavor of the month type deal. Not their identity. Prime is a great mage player. Mousesports go here because this fits their team. I love it.
This is Cherryo's old Elevate idea where they would run the triple Guardian, double Hunter composition, all of Season 4 later style. Many teams could not adapt to the situation, and you're right that they do lack the structure damage a little bit from Cherryo, but they make up for it with BigManTingz and Spudio's late game potential. Also, if you really want to, Cherryo could still go Polynomicon. He could still bring the pain on the structure damage, being able to try to go for some Fire Giants as well.
Is that what that's going to be?
I don't believe that's the tier 2 version of it.
The book?
That book is not for Polynomicon.
It's a different book. It is a different book,
yes.
Actually. One of the small inconsistencies.
Tier 2, yeah, it's a little confusing where it's like, everyone knows what the tier 3s look like, for example. Well, actually, yes, in this book, there's only one tier 2 version of this. I was thinking of the Trinket Tree, where there is 2 different trinkets, and for whatever reason, I thought Polynomicon was in this. But yes, that still could be in Polynomicon.
Yeah, all the books come through. I call it the library build, right?
Because it used to be, right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure
Polynomicon used to be attached to it because it used to have lifesteal. Right-hand side, though, Ducky and HalfDevil, their lives about to be stolen. Spudio and Nika are the culprits. Not going to jail just yet because BigManTingz is locking up Faeles. 5 players alive in Mouse jerseys. Nika get a blink on a Funball. He gets stunned, he gets rooted, he gets controlled. Turnaround Impale is great. Aegis is great. Funball ults. He does everything. He pushes every button at his disposal.
His team just couldn't do anything. His team couldn't do anything. HalfDevil getting pulled. He doesn't use Lurking in the Water. Perfect Stygian Torment timing from Nika. Catching all of SK Gaming with their pants down. So many defensive relics not being used by SK. You got to be scratching your head after that one. And with the Dia side, Mousesports not interested in this Fire Giant. They're going for the victory. It's only HalfDevil remaining.
It's gone. It's just gone. Easy peasy for Mouse. That's what it looked like from here. What else do you say about it? Wow. Mouse coming back, improving, looking like a strong team. This is what you want to see.
23.5 minutes in, 15-5. The game just exploded. And after the tier 1 solo lane tower, SK Gaming should not have probably been that eager to expose themselves.
I mean, it was just a little bit tough there. Watching SK struggle against the Mouse team. But at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, this is just a team that is finally working on all cylinders. For a long time, this squad just didn't have all the members showing up. And Spudio allowing the team to show off what they're capable of.
And I think it's a lot coming down to kind of bullying out Faeles at the beginning of the game. He couldn't really get off the momentum in a Hobwa jungle that doesn't get off to a good start. Not really going to do much. This Cabrakan made the bigger impact.
Yeah, I liked the approach here. A lot of teams get into trouble by trying to keep the Hobwa jungle down and then get punished for it later. Here, they just said, we're going to do our own game and just allow ourselves to get ahead rather than try to keep the Hebo down. So I like that approach. Who is MVP? I ask y'all out there in Mixer chat, and I'll ask you right here, Philly.
I honestly couldn't even tell you. I think it was Dardez. That pull onto Lawbster probably put a few members on tilt.
It certainly could be. Dardez, every time he comes out, looks like he could be the most valuable player. Spudio performing as well. BigManTingz doing everything he could from the middle lane. A plethora of players to really choose from. Right now, let's break it down on the desk.
Coming out of the gate, ready to go here was Mousesports, at least in Game 1. Already looking good, Taco, in this potential best of 3 set between these two teams that traditionally are at the bottom, but Mouse might be on the way up here, man.
I think the big thing for me about these two compositions especially, though, is Mouse get to do the double hunter that we've seen fail so many times in the past because of the fact that SK didn't have necessary interrupt against those hunters. You've got Sobek, you've got Artio. Artio is primarily there, like I mentioned, to just kind of absorb all the damage. Sobek, you can have some peel, but then where's your initiation? I think that's what really came to bite back at SK, is the fact that they just didn't have a heavy initiation factor. You're throwing everything into Faeles and Lawbster, trying to just get off their damage, but it's not possible when you're just getting swarmed and ran at nonstop. You have Cherryo in your face all the time, Nika all over your face every single time that it looked like a promising fight for SK, and Mouse would just immediately smother it.
Well, plus they're able to get the Guardians that you want for the Triple Guardian Double Hunter comp, right? You want the Cabrakan in the jungle because it still does a whole bunch of damage. You want the Sylvanus to be the true sort of support, right? With the sustain, being able to help out with that Wrath of Terra, and it does end up working out for them, so much so that Cherryo ends up selected as the MVP for you all there in Game 1. I think I agree with you. This Cabrakan was really a nightmare for SK to try and deal with. This is where he dives and keeps going through the wall past the Tier 1. What a play from Cherryo.
Just lucking out a little bit there that he wasn't any slower. That speed buff making sure he doesn't take another shot, but
just barely.
I love the way that Cherryo was able to cut multiple members off from SK. And even when SK were able to find picks, they were just met with those tectonic shift plates, and it's impossible to run away when you're getting caged inside of that. And that also really hurt Faeles, because every time Faeles tried to go in, he either was separated from his team because of the Cabrakan ult, or he would just get blown up in the process.
Yeah, they really did get punished that time in the jungle, in particular Faeles. I think you're right. That Hotball really was never given the appropriate amount of space to breathe in that game. I feel like Taka to get off to a good start, and when Hotball gets punished early, then it's really hard for them to be relevant later because he kind of only brings damage to the table.
It felt a lot like a risk versus reward situation for SK, and I don't hate the fact that they went for the risk. Sometimes you just got to risk it for the biscuit. This time around, it just did not work out for them, and it'll be interesting to see what they choose to supplement this for in the secondary match, because I feel like the thought process was still in the right direction. I don't think that they necessarily need to try and base everything around countering Mouse's typical, triple guardian, double hunter composition. I think if anything, SK should just try to play a little bit more to their strong suits, in that Faeles, I like seeing him on hyper carries, but I would also like to see him on something a little bit more utility based if you're going to throw Lawbster onto a carry mage also.
Yeah, and that situation just didn't quite end up working out for them, Taka, but we'll see.